Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to build two different containers and deploy it in Azure Web App. So for this demo, I'm going to build a REST API and a small web application using PowerShell port and PSHTML module. And we're going to containerize it and deploy it in Azure Web App using Docker Compose. So this is my project root structure. So I've got something like collaborations.cloud. Underneath it, I've got two different folders. So products is going to be my REST API. So for this, I've got a route folder, a Docker file, and server.ps1. So this is the main file which will host my REST API server. This is going to listen to the port 3000 in the local host, and it has one single route called food-menu. This is going to give me the response back, which is output of food-menu.ps1 underneath the routes folder. So if I look at this food-menu.ps1, which is nothing but a PS custom object in PowerShell, and prints out the items value, the name of the items, whatever I've given here. Simple as that. So let me quickly show you how this works. So I've already have a Docker Compose up and running. So what I need to do is I need to do a Docker Compose down. Don't worry about these commands for now. I'll give you the hyperlink in the description. You can make use of that. So what I have done here is a docker-compose.yaml file. I'll quickly get back to that. Before that, I'll show you what is there in the application folder. More or less similar to the products. Instead of the routes folder, I have a views. So I can render some HTML. For that, I have used PSHTML module, and I have written some static contents. So it's going to display an image, and it has one drop down field which has some values, nothing but output of my REST API, which I have built it in the products. All right. So I have got colors of cuisine, listening to port 3000, and food menu is the endpoint. If I hit this, I get the food menu value. So if I look at this particular app.ps1, this is going to set a view engine to PSHTML, and then that's going to have a route called index. So for our demo, what I do is instead of doing index, I just remove the index, and let's see how that works. So now I did some changes in my code, right? So that's good. And what I do is I go to the docker compose.yaml and walk you through this. I'm giving two different services. One is for my application, one is for my REST API. So this is my REST API, colors of cuisine. So I just named it as colors of cuisine. Another one as my application. So I'm mapping to the port 5000 and 5001. So this is all the two different images, because both the folders has got a Docker file, and I'm going to build a image. Please don't ask me why don't I have one and a Docker file, and why don't I optimize it. In my future blogs and videos, I'm going to do that. So this is a starting point to showcase that I can use PowerShell port PSHTML module, and I can deploy it to my Azure Web App. So I've got a image version 1.0.1 and version 1.0.1. What modification I've done is only on my application, right? Because my application is not going to have /index route. Instead, it's going to be a default route. So what I do is I'll modify this as 2. Now in my API endpoint, I can add one more menu. Something like what I can do is like, okay, I'll make it as some food menu. That's good. So now I've got a change in my version. So I'm going to do that as 1.0.2. What should I do for this? I need to first test locally, right? So I'm going to do docker compose up --build. And with this is going to build an image and allow me to access it locally in my computer where I have built and deployed this, right? So this is going to be my local host. So once this build is successfully completed, I can very well access this local host with the port which has been mapped in my docker.compose YAML file. So my application will be listening to the port 80, but in the local host it will be 5000, and my REST API is going to be 5001. My application, if I deploy, it's going to be listening to the port 3000. So that's why in my index.ps1, in my application, I'm pointing to the port 3000 and hitting this food menu. So instead of using a local host, I'm giving the name of the service because Docker Compose is going to take care of it. So simply I'm using the version 3.3, giving two different services in the Docker Compose. So I've named it as colors of Quasar, and then one is an application. Both has got the Docker file and it has its own version. So if I do any modification to my application, I can just do a version change over here. Before that, I need to changes in my application folder. It's that simple. So now that you can see my application is listening here to both the applications. One is listening to the port 3000 and one is to the port 80. So let's see what happens if I go and hit localhost 80. No, I don't see anything here because already my IS is running on this, right? So let me do index. It fails. Okay, that's simple as that because I already have another application listening, I believe. So I should have a different route. Simple as that. Let me do a small change here. This is a change in plan because I didn't expect my localhost 80 is not going to render. Or am I missing something? Hopefully, but that's okay. Not a big deal. What I do is I go back to my app and let me name this as index again. Or just name it as home so that I'll have some changes so that I'll not have any issues. Let me do that again. Let me do a Docker Compose down. So I'm just going to remove what I have done in Docker Compose up, and I'm going to redo the Docker Compose up -- build. So this is going to rebuild the image and give me two different two different application. That's localhost listening to the port 3000, another one listening to the port 80, which has a route as index. That means localhost / index. That's going to render the site. Good. So it's going good. I don't need to worry about it. Now what I need to do is I need to create an app service. So for that I go to Azure portal, search for app services, and yeah, I've got one function app running. That's okay. I create a new app service, and for this I'm going to create a resource group. I've got only one subscription. That's okay. Click on resource group and name it as RGP demo multi-container apps. Okay, and this is going to be a Docker container. And what's next? My operating system. So it's a Linux based operating system. Then I'm going to choose North Europe and my app service plan. By default I got something, so I'm not going to touch it. Click on Docker. In the options, choose Docker Compose. So my image source is going to be in Docker Hub. All right. So my access type is public because my image is public image. So what I see in my Docker Hub.yaml, I'm going to get version 1.0.2, but this is not yet published. Now it's available in my localhost. The image build is completed and I've got two different applications. So now if I go and access my localhost index, let's see what happens. What is localhost? Okay, I have to give the port 5000. I was wrong. So now it should work. Why it's not working? Because instead of index, I made it as home. Now that should work. My site is up and running, and it can also access my REST API, which is successfully running in port 3000. So you can see here, I've got 4 different values, food menus, right? So if I go to localhost 3000 and give a endpoint food -menu, I should get some JSON response back, hopefully. Why I didn't get it? That's still okay. That is going to listen to the port 5001 because it's mapped to 5001. So now that should work. So you can see the JSON output. Good. Fantastic. So I think we are more or less there to deploy it. Now what we need to do is stop this application. I don't want this to be up and running, so I do Docker Compose down. Let me take a quick look on Docker Compose. What I've got is version 3.3 and two different services. One is colors of Quasar and one is application. Application is going to do look at to the folder application and build this image, publish it, and this is depends on the colors of Quasar service, right? So this is nothing but my REST API endpoint. So I've got two containers, right? So I'm going to build this. So the Docker file is going to play a major one. It's going to install the dependencies and make sure my container has got all the requirements for my application. What is required to run my application, right? Okay, so let me quickly show you how we are going to deploy this. Back here to my Azure web app. I'm creating a web app here. I've selected Docker Compose, it's in preview. So now I'm gonna choose the file, configuration file, and Docker Compose. So what happens here is it's going to get this configuration file, but it can't find anything. The reason being is I haven't pushed it, right? So now I need to do Docker Compose push. So this is going to push this to my Docker hub, and it will be available publicly. So you can use that Docker Compose YAML, and by this time what happens is this is building and pushing this. So once the push is completed, my application can access that, and then it can say this is your Docker image and this is what I'm going to deploy it here. So that's what exactly this Docker Compose YAML is going to do, right? So it goes read this repository, this image tags, and then it makes the thing happening for us. Let's see how much time it's going to take for this. This is doing the colors of Quasar image, and it has to do another image called application. Meanwhile, I'll just get on to my Docker hub, hub.docker.com, and I should be seeing these two images available because I've got a previous version. So if I get on to colors of Quasar, I should be having v1.0.1, but one I'm pushing now is 1.0.2. So I'm waiting for that to appear here. So if I get on to repositories and look at the application, I've got 1.0.1 but not 1.0.2. Why it's that? It's still pushing. Okay, it's done. So we need to give some time for that to appear here. Hopefully that should work as expected now. Okay, let's leave it as it is. Let's wait for some more time. It should work. I should see that in minute or two. Once that's done, what we need to do is we need to click on monitoring. If you want to do monitoring enablement, you can enable it here so that you get some logs and other information. So in short, it's going to create an application inside. My website doesn't require it because I've not built it completely. In future, I'm going to do that. So in short, yes, you can attach application insights at any point of time. So I'm clicking on tags, click review create, validation failed. The reason being is I didn't give a web app name. So my app name is going to be colors of Quasar. Colors of Quasar. Okay, yeah. So now that all good, I don't want to click on review create for now. Let me navigate to review create so that it starts the validation. I think this should pass this time. Already my image push is completed. So I should be seeing a images version here. Let me refresh it. Hopefully I should see the version 1.0.2 few seconds ago. That's good. My application has got the second version. I just want to confirm. Obviously it will be working. I just want to cross check it. I've got version 1.0.2. All good. So now I go click on create. What happens now is this is going to do the deployment. It will initialize the deployment and then make my site accessible from my Azure web app. So I will get a URL colors-of-quasar.azurewebsites.net, and I need to access that application by giving /home. I get my application up and running, and in the backend I will be getting a REST API server which will feed the values for my drop down list. That's our demo is altogether. So let's wait for another 2 minutes and see how that works. Meanwhile, what I want to show here is I can also very well optimize this Docker file, but in my as I said in my future blogs and videos, I'm going to do that. So I've got two different set of containers now up and running. you can go ahead and very well structure this project scaffolding as you wish. And you can also make sure that all your team members or anybody who's going to work in your project in future understands it, how it has been structured. So that helps a lot during the troubleshooting. So that's the one thing. And whenever you are building a REST API, make sure that you have a folder called routes. And in the server.ps1, I have not mentioned anywhere that there is a route folder. By default, it's accepting there is something called routes, and it's taking out the food-menu route and building it. You can very well go ahead and write some JSON file here. Just keep plain JSON file and you can access that. You can just call the path here and then get that output. Why I'm using the PS custom, the PowerShell script and using PS custom object is to show the importance of it. I can dynamically put out some values here, right? So it will execute it and get me the values. I can write some PowerShell script which will do that. So under the hood, instead of building a website, I can make a web application. The difference between that is the application is just a piece of software which can do something more than what website does. Website is more or less to give you the contents like an images, text, audio, videos, something like that. Application will contain all those things plus some kind of a piece of software which is running in the behind. So to make sure that I have written that in the PowerShell, so that in future the colors of Quaison site, I'm going to build it as a full-blown website for giving the South Indian delicacies. So that's the plan actually. All right. So let's see what happened now. So my deployment is completed now. Let me go to resources and see what I get. I got a URL. Very good. I can copy this or I can click on browse. Navigate to your browser. Fantastic. I'm happy because I got 404. It's responding. I'm getting the response from my application. Why? Because I didn't have a proper route. So I need to give a / and home. That should work. It's working as expected. So you can see colors of Quaison and I got a food menu. I should see 4 items underneath it. Good. So you can see this content from your code. Go to application, views, index.ps1, colors of Quaison with foreground light red, and all these things are coming out from my style sheet. Okay, Metro UI. So this is where it's residing, the tricks for this class and whatever you see here, these classes, containers and stuff. I don't want to get in detail about it. You can log into Metro, you can search for Metro UI in Google and you get a lot of documentations about it, and that's fantastically good. You can use that to make your site look and feel good. Now that see here, I'm hitting the endpoint. That's my REST API, colors of Quaison, published to port 3000, and hitting the food menu. It gets the response, JSON response, right? And I'm getting the items and getting the name. So that's what exactly you see here in your site. Good. Thanks for watching my video. In my future blog and videos, I'm going to show you how to enhance this and following some best practices. Thanks a lot for watching my video.